What's up, guys? We're here. Another episode of the Discipline and Legacy podcast. I got a good guest today. Bruce drove up from Wellington, to Port St. Lucie for the podcast. We've been connected probably about a week ago.
Yep.
I've been following him on social media for a little while now. Guy's got an amazing story, amazing testimony. Man of faith, actor, and just all around good guy from what I've seen so far. And I really appreciate you making the trip.
Thank you for that. It's an honor to be here, John. Thank you for inviting me. And what a beautiful studio. It's really remarkable. You've done a great job.
Thank you, man. It was fun. My wife, I can't take all the credit. She was definitely a big part of it. We were here on the weekends, rubbing elbow
Smart
grease.
man. Don't take all the credit.
Not at all. So even with the snack bar set up, I'm not taking any credit for that. But
Nice.
I appreciate you coming, man. And
Sure.
obviously the Discipline and Legacy podcast, we want to utilize this platform to, I like to say for everybody, but, for the most part, too, before we get too far to the end, we're going to try to pour into the next generation a little bit.
I love that. I love that.
I tell people that if I might not be able to tell you what to do, but I could definitely tell you what not to do.
Yeah, I can definitely resonate with that sentiment for sure.
Let's dive in. Let's hear a little bit of your testimony, your story, kind of where it started, where you're from, all that good stuff.
If you don't mind, I'm going to actually start at the end.
That's fine too. Yeah.
I'm just going to give you just a little brief story that I heard recently, and it really resonated with me. And I think it kind of speaks to where I am, and actually I believe where you are as well in your journey. And as we get to know each other, I'm sure it'll all make sense. So recently, my fiance actually showed me, I don't know if it was like an Instagram reel but basically it was like kind of like a little story, and you may have heard it, and some of the audience may have heard it before. It was new to me, so it really was thought-provoking, and I felt compelled to share it today. So it basically goes like this. So, John, you invite me over to your house, and on my way in, I noticed there was a snake in your yard. And I mean, not just a snake, but it was like a big, scary snake with sharp fangs and poison, and I knew, like, oh man, that's really bad, right? It's danger, and it kind of alerted my senses. So when I came to your doorbell, I had a choice to make. Do I just go in and hang out with John and talk about the sports and the weather and the usual stuff, or do I tell John, like, hey, by the way, there's a snake in your yard? So what do you think I should do?
I'd be worried that we try to come in the house or something, but
right. So one of the things I realized when I heard that story, just that simple story, it made me realize where I am in my walk and in my journey. And through the experiences that I've had in my life that we can get into, I've seen a snake. I've seen a really big, scary snake, and I've seen it come in a lot of forms and fashions. And I realized that no longer could I hold that visual and those experiences to myself. I realized it was more than important for me to share from a place of love to my friends, fans, followers, acquaintances along the way, that there is a big, scary, dangerous snake. And if we really care and if we really love the people we meet, we will tell them about the snake. And we will warn them about the snake. So the journey that I'm on and that you're on, I believe, is that we are out here not just to tell people that there is a snake and it's in many forms and fashions, but there's another side to the story. And I think, God has placed it on my heart, and a vision of not only utilizing my growing platform to kind of share my story, just like we'll do today.
Yes.
But also to come from a place of love, because there's a lot of people out there hurting and struggling, and we have a choice to make every day to create impact or not. The foundation I started, the Fix Foundation.
Yes.
Ignite hope, inspire action, and impact eternity. That's my tagline, man.
Nice.
And I really feel like that vision came to me through a series of experiences and the realization that I really want to come from a place of love, not of, kind of bashing or telling people what they're doing is wrong, but to say, like, hey, there is a God, and God loves you, and God loves me. And I'm only here breathing, bro, because of God's grace and mercy.
Amen.
So why would I hide that part of my life and my journey? It would be doing a disservice. It would be selfish, right? Just like when I came to your house earlier and I saw that snake, I had a choice to make. And I decided, you know what, I'm going to tell John about the snake. And I'm going to tell him my experiences with the snakes that I've come across in my life so that John will have that insight and that inside scoop on how to
You're
navigate.
almost helping them get rid of it too. It's like,
Sure.
hey, it's out here. I got rid of it before. Let's go. Let's
Right.
go.
And, you know, I try not to be so poetic, spiritual, or philosophical, but at the same time, I can't help it sometimes because I realize most of my friends are dead, man. From violence, murder, suicide, drug overdoses, you know, prison. I mean, I've seen and experienced all of it. And there's times where I'm like, how am I even here?
Yeah.
How am I even breathing? How am I even alive? And that answer has come now. It's no longer, I no longer question it. I have this realization that even just by meeting people like yourself along the way, that it's a confirmation that God is real.
Yeah.
And that he does answer prayer. And timing is everything. And right now I'm at a time in my journey where, sure, I've done some really cool stuff. You know, people see me and they say, wow, this guy is cool. He's big and tattoos and he's scary and he does these movies. And, I've been in movies with Liam Neeson and Rob Lowe and Adrian Brody and everybody from The Sopranos and all the gangster movies, all the stuff I kind of grew up watching and idolizing either in my neighborhood, in real life, and also on the big screen. And somehow I got into that world, and now I'm one of those guys where people actually look up to me. So I feel that I have a not only social responsibility, but a spiritual responsibility to spread the good news.
Yeah.
And also, to share my experiences and embrace them, the good, the bad, the ugly, because as we both know, none of us are perfect, man, far from it. And I still make mistakes all the time, but I think I'm coming into a part of a place in my life where I'm just so grateful, man. I am so grateful to be here, to be thriving and breathing and having the opportunity to really reach out and talk to folks that may need to hear a message coming from love, from someone they can relate to. And I think, from what I know about you, I think we share that sentiment.
100%, man. Everything you just said was like me in a nutshell.
Right.
And the jail cell, the most recent jail cell that I was in, out of the 8 guys that were in there, 2 of us are alive.
Wow.
And drugs, car crashes, we talked on the phone the other day for like 2 hours, just me and this guy. He's a comedian now. And I was in tears from that because, like, I'm not supposed to be here.
Right.
I should be in prison. I should be dead. I've overdosed multiple times where, like, there's no other way to explain why I'm here except for God.
I came to that conclusion myself. I got to that realization. I got goosebumps. And God's presence is real.
100%.
And I think even as I kind of knew that at certain points in my life, but maybe I was, avoiding or shy or Switzerland, right? No politics, no religion.
Yeah.
I've had times in my life where that was the best I could do to kind of like avoid certain realities. But now I talk a lot about choices, right? I have a choice to make every day. And the choice I make now is to boldly declare my faith.
Yes.
Because God has given us these tools, right? Look what you've built here. This is amazing.
Thank you, man.
And I really hats off, man. A lot of respect for what you're doing and for the little bit I've seen of some of your interviews and stuff. You just sharing your heart and being honest and being transparent and authentic. That to me is more compelling than any story you can see on a movie or on a TV show.
It's rare. And anybody like ourselves that have been, have the street knowledge and smarts, or to where like you could call somebody's bluff without even hearing a whole lot of what's going on with them. So
we have a special set of skills.
and character has been developed through everything that I've been through. So I don't regret one bit of it. And like I said, to be able to come and all of it come full circle to realize like, hey, this is what I'm supposed to do. He saved me. He spared me for a reason. And that is to help as many people as I could possibly help. And I think when you get to a point where like, I don't think you like, like I got it, but he blesses you enough to where your needs are met so that everything that you want to do is to help somebody else to have the same thing.
And I've said it a lot recently. It's really about being a servant. right? And it's funny because I kind of came from nothing, bro. I came from very humble beginnings, and somehow I've created this life of luxury, right? I have, a few cars and motorcycles and a nice house. I got all those things, right? All the things that everybody admires, and this guy's on movies, does all this cool stuff. But honestly, I finally come to the realization that none of that really matters, right? What really matters is serving others. And I'll go back a few pages. Literally about a year ago to the month, I got invited to Honduras on a mission trip for a group out of South Florida called Food for the Poor. One of my buddies was in there, and basically they asked him, "Hey, do you know any locals, celebrities that might be interested in going on a mission trip so that they could help raise awareness for some of these campaigns that we're running to help these underserved people?" So my boy was like, "Oh man, I got Bruce Osher, man. He's the best. He's on movies, yada yada yada." And he like really championed me. I had no idea what was going on. So I'm at my house, and he starts calling me, and he says, "Hey, would you go on a mission trip to Honduras?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm in." And he goes,
in.
"What do you mean I'm in? I didn't tell you everything." I said, "Well, I'm sure I got some questions, but I just felt in that moment like I just knew this was something I had to do." So I did answer the call. I went, and man, before I even got on the plane to go with this group, I just felt like tingles all over my body. I felt like this goosebumps, and I just, in hindsight, it was the Holy Spirit, man, saying, "Hey, kid, let's go. I'm taking you on a journey that's going to change you forever so that you can go and tell your story and change others." So I challenge anyone, if you ever have a chance to hook up with a church group or anybody that goes on a mission trip to another country, do it. Do it. Don't be afraid. Do it. Because when I went, and I'm not saying we were like blood, sweat, and tears in the jungle, but we were in the jungle, but we had like, tour buses and armed guards.
Hot and cold water. And
yeah. We stayed at a nice hotel. So, the experience itself, we had long days, and we went out and really saw people at all different levels of poverty. And man, it just shook me to my core. And it made me realize the things, leading up to that trip. I'm like, man, my hot tub, is messed up, and how annoying, right? And it's, and my cell phone's acting up, and my tax bill is so high, and just the things that
it brings you to true humanity.
Look, man, I went into a country where I saw nobody was walking around staring at a phone or an iPad. I went to orphanages where I saw kids like playing kickball, and just brought me back to my childhood. And I'm 50, so we did that stuff. We didn't have cell phones either. But the point is,
riding the bikes and all that.
I saw these kids with so much love in their hearts and beaming smiles and hugs, and they would literally say, like, Jesus and pray for you. These are kids in a third world country that had nothing. They're in an orphanage, and they were full of love. And it just was so remarkable to me that, and all the different things that I saw throughout that week, when I came home, I just had a new perspective, a new lens. I instantly felt ashamed for the things, like I mentioned earlier, like first world problems that, I try not to ever complain anymore. But I also realized that there are a lot of people in the world that are hurting and have so much less than us. And even here domestically in our local communities, and I felt like I was waking up 3, 4, 5 in the morning every single night when I came home, and it was just God was talking to me, man. You hear people say that. It's like, come on, God's talking to you. But I'll tell you what, man, sometimes it just comes in this subtle form of like guidance, right? So I started in my mind, and I'm not a tech guy, but I was building a web page, and I was having this outreach, and in all the things to basically do what I'm doing now. So within this past year, I've had like events to launch the Fix Foundation, where we curated a room full of high net worth individuals and other local and domestic and international charities in different assets, different sectors, really. So like the Children's Home Society of the Palm Beaches. I live in Palm Beach, and they help foster children. Like they basically challenge business leaders in the community to mentor these kids that have nobody. So I've signed up to be a mentor, and really it's not just about me doing it, because I know I can do that. I've coached kids sports and done all those things in my life. It's about me sharing that I'm doing it, not to say, look at me, I'm so great, but to say, hey man, maybe you would do it too.
That's awesome,
Whenever I have the podium or the microphone, I realize it's not the me show. It's not, look at me, I'm so cool, I'm so great, I have all these things and I'm on movies. That just opens the door for the conversation for me to boldly declare my faith.
Wow.
And also to share the fact that I'm here by God's grace and mercy. I'm not perfect by any means. And I realize every day I'm constantly working on being a better version of myself than I was yesterday. And that's all I can do, man. I look at those stories in the Bible and Jesus's boys, his crew, his posse, his disciples, they weren't perfect, bro, by any means. If you ever take the D's and thous out, you will see they were like straight gangbangers, bro.
Yeah.
They were just dudes in the hood, like
in jail,
tearing it up.
incarcerated, yeah,
killing people, like. And a lot of these dudes went on to change the world forever. So I used to say, why me? Or,
and why did they change the world?
They changed the world because they weren't afraid to tell their story and also show the steps it took, but also to boldly declare their faith. That's all they really did, was boldly declare their faith, to the point where they were willing to die for what they believed in. So, yeah, but I look at myself and I'm like, who the hell am I to not at least do some measure of that part? Boldly declare my faith. So I'm in Hollywood, bro, right? So Hollywood doesn't stand for faith in God.
It's frowned upon a little bit.
Frowned upon. It's literally the opposite.
Right.
It's, as
you
you
see
all
all those
know,
people laughing at the awards ceremonies about, making fun of Christians.
It's a sad mess. And when I first started coming closer to my walk in Christ, I started to realize, like, what am I even doing, right? I'm doing all these gangster movies and all this stuff. It's not really glorifying him. And I kind of said to God, I felt convicted. God, what am I, why am I on this path? Like, I didn't open these doors, you did, right? I didn't set out to be an actor. Somehow, some way, I ended up in that world. And I kind of went to bed with a heavy heart one night, and I woke up the next day, and again, I felt like a calm, peace, subtle confirmation of this question I had. And the realization I came to was, God has a sense of humor. My God does. And I almost feel like he talked to me like I would talk to you. And he was like, so you think you're so great? You got the movie with Liam Neeson and that one with Adrian Brody and #1 trending movie on Netflix with Rob Lowe. Like, you think you pulled that off? And I'm like,
nope.
Okay, I see your point. So now what? What's the answer, though? Should I, keep doing this, or should I just stop? And I feel like I almost filled in the blank, or he filled in the blank. It was like, dude, I put you here. This is chess, not checkers. I'm in this. Look at, maybe you wouldn't have invited me on because I'm not as interesting without that kind of part of my journey where I'm this cool guy that does movies and I have all these, famous actors I've done scenes with on the biggest stages in the world. That opens the door for me to share.
I'll be honest. I saw all the God stuff. That's what I saw. Yeah. But the cool thing is like people look at us, people like us who've been through the ringer, and like people meet me and they're like, dude, you're like a big teddy bear, but I look like this brutal person. That's what, and same. Like these scars ain't from And every time I get another one, I'm like, why am I doing this? But he spared me for a reason, and that's, everybody tells me the same thing. They're like, dude, I see a guy like you, and I never think that you're gonna be professing your faith or wearing a Trust God shirt in Walmart. But like when I was in the county jail or whenever I was in these places and even in the student ministry, when I was, called there to be a leader for that season, like I would see the young, soon to be pastor that was next to me that was speaking to these kids, and they were like, like looking at their phone. And then when I started speaking, they were like locked in. And the same thing, like when you go into the county jail, you can't identify with like that white picket fence mentality, but I can identify with somebody who's been down the same path that I've been on. And that's why it's our job to boldly declare our faith and come from a place of love. 100%.
And that realization has been ever embedded into my skull now. And I'm a thick-headed, stubborn guy, but I have the realization I can't be Switzerland, man. I can't be on the fence. I can't do the whole no religion, no politics. Because right now, in this day and age, you need to make a choice, and you're either here or there. You're either in or out. And
that's it.
I'm in, bro. I'm trying to not only save my soul, but to make sure that the people I love, I'm gonna tell them about the snake, bro. And even the people that I meet along the way, who am I to hide my realization that there is a snake? And you can either go and get bit by the snake, or people like us can come along and put a voice to it and say, you have a choice to make,
Well, I'm going to stand on that too earlier, because that's was something that was on my heart recently, where I forget who it was. It was somebody that was like, oh, I saved like 3,000 people this year. And like, okay, did you help them kill the snake?
Right.
Or did you just make them say the words? Because like I was one of those people that just said the words, but I didn't even know what I was saying the words to.
That's right.
And so like we got to come alongside these people, especially if God's placing them in our life, and that discernment will allow you to know that no coincidences thing that I'm talking about, where like it's God putting this person in front of you for you to pour into, and to take that responsibility for what it is, and take them alongside. You can't help somebody who doesn't want to help themselves. So
100%.
So, but when God places these people in your life, that's why I don't go out looking for mentor people. I don't go out looking for it. God will provide that.
I agree.
And you come across certain people in your life that have, I call it that dog. They got that dog in them.
Right.
So
I like that.
you don't come across people like that very often in life. So when you do, you know that like, hey, we were meant to cross paths.
It's an opportunity.
And so, but we're called to do that and not just say the prayer with somebody. We're called to take them under our wing. And
so me in the acting world, when I got into acting, I went to an open casting call for a Mark Wahlberg movie. I was 40. Call it a midlife crisis, if you will. I wasn't an actor. I was a street guy. I owned a barbershop, turned it into 12 locations.
Nice.
Had a really cool, fun business model in my 20s and 30s, and ultimately sold everything and moved to Florida in the last few years. But kind of pivoted to full-time acting and full-time philanthropy, if you will. But along the way, I realized that, just like we continue to talk about it, you have a choice to make. Every day you have a choice to make. Every minute, every hour, there's opportunities that come your way. And it's really not just a social responsibility, and I said it earlier, a spiritual responsibility that we have. Once you have this knowledge and you have this realization, you have to share it. And for me, I agree 100%. I don't have to go look for nonprofit organizations to champion through my foundation. They come in front of me somehow, some way. I was never in this space. Even the movies. And when I first started in movies, I was like, I got to be in every single one. I got to do every single audition. And somehow it just turned into, I kind of pumped the brakes, and it's just coming to me organically now. People have seen what I stand for, my body of work, and it comes. So, but each one of those pieces of my life, I realize I have an opportunity to share my story authentically and to not leave out the parts that really mean the most. And, basically what we're talking about today is along the way, like I've had so many opportunities to speak to like ultra high net worth, like investors on whatever movie or TV show I'm in, or, just getting invited. Recently, I've been invited to so many like high level wealth groups. And I'm like, how am I here, dude? It's insane. Bro, last week, I got invited from left field from a guy who I met briefly on WhatsApp, who someone else introduced. Hey, you guys should meet each other. Like 6-7 months ago, we did like a little thread, kind of never went anywhere. The guy, he's in New York, I'm down here. Ultimately, this guy calls me from left field and he says, hey man, I'll be in Miami next week. Anybody that is coming to any part of Florida, they just assume you can meet them, right? So he says, hey man, I'll be in Miami next week. Why don't we get lunch? And I said, oh yeah, we'll try. Then it turned into the next day, hey, I'm speaking at this event. You should be my guest. And I'm like, okay, what's the event? He sends it to me. It's the Global Family Office Investment Summit.
Wow.
It's like kings, queens, like the richest people in the world. It's 30 years in tenure. And like and it's over $5,000 a ticket, invite only, just to walk in the place. So the guy goes, yeah, I want you to be my guest. I'm like, all right, yeah, cool, I'll go to that. The next day he calls me, he goes, you know what, on second thought, I think you should speak on the panel.
God.
And I almost fell out of my chair, and I looked up, I said, all right, I see what you're doing here. This doesn't make sense. I have no business being here. But in those moments is when the realization is, this is another opportunity. What am I going to go in there and talk about? I'm such a cool guy. I'm a great actor. I do some goodwill in the world. I have a foundation that champions other nonprofits. Nope. I get up there and I talk about that stuff, but I talked about how, I'm doing God's work in a room full of world leaders and the wealthiest families.
And not caring what they think of what we're...
Me, bro. Yeah, the switch is on, right?
Not in a like masculine, like I don't care about you way, but in a way that we're like,
I'm not worried about the consequences if someone doesn't agree.
I can get along with anybody.
I'm boldly declaring my faith, and I'm also challenging people from those walks of life to be generous and to give to the underserved and to take a moment out of their day and not just worry about more zeros. It's important, sure, it's great, it's inspirational. I love that stuff. I love luxury. I love wealth. I love business legacies. I love all that. I'm a student of the game.
Yes.
But I do realize somehow I found myself to be this catalyst, this bridge in the middle where I've seen, not only locally and, like you said, drugs and affliction, addiction, foster kids, United States military veterans that need our help and our support
100%.
through different campaigns. But also, internationally, like there's other countries in the world that really need our help, and we have excess. We think we have this terrible economy, but it's still kind of a little bit head and shoulders above everybody else's. So at the end of the day, like standing in the middle and, providing the reality or putting a light on, spotlighting other people that really need our help, I found myself in these rooms where everyone's talking about money and everybody's talking about legacy and wealth.
Yeah.
And I love it, but again, my job is to kind of say they somehow, again, I don't know how, but I know how, I was placed in the middle of a panel. The woman all the way to this side of me was the queen of the Congo, the queen of Africa.
Wow.
And she was beautiful, eloquently spoke, and I was so impacted by her words. But each person on that panel stood for some sort of legacy, family wealth in some part of the world.
Wow. For each culture, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm in the middle, and I'm like, okay, it's my turn. What do? I did what I do.
I'm like that, man. I'm like, how did I end up across the table?
How did I
from
get
these
here?
people?
And people were coming up to me at the end, grabbing me off the stage, like, oh my God. And I was just like,
if you only knew little old me from the streets
and it's wild to see. And I think some of my boys from back in the day would be like,
but that makes it more that like it ain't about me.
more impactful.
It makes those situations, because I can identify 100% wholly with that. Just shows me how small I am.
Yeah.
Even it makes me.
But that pebble in the ocean can make a ripple effect that goes beyond our time, bro. And that's something for me anyway. With the Fix Foundation, I feel like I'm building a turnkey legacy. Breaking generational curses in my family with drugs and alcohol and a different array of addictions, right? Pick one. And then just having the ability to see my kids change in their life. I have a 30-year-old son, a 28-year-old daughter. My daughter right now is, she says, Daddy, I'm celebrating 1 year clean and sober, and she's kind of a mini me, if you will. She's having events back home. We're from Rhode Island, and they're called the Mocktail Meetup. So she's beautiful, and she's swaggy and cool and funny, and she's the beautiful girl version of me. I know I'm being a little egregious, but she has these events where she's raising awareness for sobriety, but also in like beautiful settings, like high-end restaurants and all these, so still like
It's a new thing.
Yeah, the girls get all dressed up and selfies and all the cool stuff that you would do in a bar setting, but doing it with non-alcoholic. But now she's kind of really come closer to her walk with Christ. And so now she's infused Jesus into her message. It's not just sobriety and mocktails. She's made a bold declaration of her faith and incorporated that into her, campaign, if you will. And I couldn't be more proud or ecstatic about the fact that my kid is doing something in her 20s that is like hard to do, right? To go against the grain. I mean, she's a banker and she has this great job, but she bartends, moonlights as a bartender, and she's like, Daddy, the money's great, but I'm actually getting to the point where I don't want to do it anymore. It doesn't sit right with me. I'm out here having these mocktail things, but I'm making all this money as a bartender. And I said, that's your journey, your walk. You'll know when it's time to make a move. And I try not, again, come from a place of love, not bash or tell people. I remind them about the snake. There's a snake out there. What do you want to do?
I love it.
So it's, for me, breaking generational curses, creating a legacy of impact. Not just what can I do, but what can I do to create some sort of platform where my kids or my grandchildren can turn the key and say, you know what, I really like what Papa stood for. I want to do this too.
Let it keep on going.
And so we do that in business, right? Guys that have flourishing businesses, we think either in terms of an exit where we can hand the keys to somebody else and get a big check and ride off into the sunset, or we think in terms of let me create something that my kids can take up and run with. So with me with this, it's about faith, it's about family, it's about fulfillment, it's about finance. Like there's so many things I think that for me anyway with my journey, utilizing my growing platform for good and coming from a place of love, not trying to tell people like, hey, I'm better than you because I found something that is working for me, but saying, hey, I was 10 times worse than you before. And somehow I found a path or an avenue that it's very fulfilling and purposeful to go out and actually help other people. And I never realized that. And I've always done it in some form of fashion, but now, for me anyway, I'm making that my main focal point.
Yeah.
Even down to like the discipline of when I meet people, whether it's a business setting or networking, I lead with, what's your wish list? Like, how can I help you?
Wow.
And I tell you what, that changes conversations dramatically. You really open people up because they're just blown away by, wait a minute.
It's a question that's not asked very much.
Yeah, you want to know what I want and need?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah. And really, I challenge you and the viewers to go out there and try that. Your next conversation started with, what can I do to help you? How can I add value? How can I help you achieve your milestones? How can I grant your wish list?
Because most people in the world probably don't even think that for themselves.
Of course not.
So that's why I think
very thought-provoking.
Those certain things that you can talk about, because even, I mean, you take it another step, say, how can we help each other, but there's certain things that aren't thought about as just normal human, everyday interaction people.
It's just a new way to approach things. For me, it was always, what's in it for me, even if I didn't say that, but I'd go into conversations thinking, why am I here? What can I get out of this? And it's a normal human nature to think like that. There's nothing wrong with it, but I think it really changes the dynamic of your flow if you lead with, what's on your wish list? Like, what is on your day? Like, what are you trying to accomplish? And just let people tell you, because you know what? For me anyway, I'm what they call a strategic connector, because I have all these flourishing relationships in my Rolodex, and I leverage relationship capital. So, friends that are real estate guys and they're looking for property, maybe I have, just constantly connecting people to each other. And
I got a guy.
I got a guy. I got the T-shirt that says that, and everybody laughs because that's always been me. I've always been I was a barber for 20 years, bro. So I was the guy that had everybody in the
Barbershops
community.
are a special place.
Yeah, man. And I love it. I went and got a lineup on the way here, and I go to a barbershop where nobody speaks English.
Yeah.
And to me, I love it. It's
Dominican guy named Sammy. Sammy, if you're watching, I miss you, man.
Yeah, it's the best.
He moved up to North Florida and got him a farm, and he
good for
moved
him.
from the Dominican Republic to play baseball.
Oh, wow.
But the atmosphere, man. I'm married to a Brazilian woman. It's like the culture and the
I have a
atmosphere.
Guatemalan. I love my Latinos.
I was supposed to meet her. I've always liked rice and beans. But
I love my rice and beans.
And then you said Rhode Island. I swear, I just saw something the other day. It was like they said that Rhode Island was the biggest Italian population in the whole United States.
True, per capita.
And it's like the smallest state.
Smallest city, but it's, I grew up as, from a cinematic lens, The Sopranos was my world, my lifestyle. So when that was on TV, it was kind of funny. We were like, oh, it's like a reflection of the neighborhood, of the culture that I grew up around. And it is kind of funny because a lot of the movies that I'm in are like that, right? So I'm on a TV show called Gravesend series out of New York, and it's a 1980s period piece. So it's like 80s Brooklyn, Wise Guy Central, and it's fun. I gotta admit, it's a fun show to film, and the camaraderie between the cast is, there's a huge cast of characters, and a lot of the guys that are still around for The Sopranos, they're on our TV show. Shaquille O'Neal's on the show now. It's Chaz Palminteri from A Bronx Tale. He's in the show. I've got some cool stuff coming out, season 3.
Nice.
Supposedly it might hit in May, really soon. I think they're gonna release some episodes, but that's just rumor. I don't really know what the official word is yet, but You'll see some cool stuff out of Mario Ludo, my character in Gravesend. And if anybody likes that stuff, on Amazon Prime, you can see season 2 of Gravesend series. I was in almost every episode. I didn't look like this, though. No facial hair allowed in the 80s.
Cleaned you up.
Nice, clean face, clean shaven, wise guy look. And I had a lot of fun on that TV series. We started filming in Miami, and that's what kind of led me to move here ultimately.
Right.
I was the guy in the cast that said, I'm not leaving. You know, like Leonardo DiCaprio on Wall Street, Wolf of Wall
Yes.
Street. I said, I'm not leaving. And they all said, yeah, sure. They all went back to New York, and I stayed. And I ended up bringing my family down and buying a house and really settling in. So I love it here, man. I love Florida. I love the palm trees. I love the paradise. You know, even on a bad day or a rough day, I go outside and I go, I live here. You know, I don't know if you're old enough to remember. There was a movie with Steve Martin, an older actor, and he was it was like in the witness protection program, and he goes outside. He goes, I live here, and he's got the big suit on. Yeah, it's just a funny reference, but yeah, I find myself realizing that there's so many beautiful places that you can drive 10, 20, 30 minutes in any direction and find stuff you didn't know existed in Florida. And me coming from a small state up north, it's really a whole new experience for me every day. Like, I'm constantly finding out, you didn't know about this place or that? And I'm like, no, and I can't wait. It's like, the big joke about me is that I'm an overgrown middle schooler.
Yeah.
So I love field trips. I live for people invite me to stuff all the time because I think they get a kick out of my excitement.
Just to see, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like that, man, too. Like I love experiencing new stuff. We went to Brazil. My wife's family is in northern Brazil. They call it Amazonia, and it's in Pará. We literally went to a place where the Santarém was, where the Xingu River or the Tapajós River meets the Rio Grande, and but if I wanted to see Rio, like I could just go to Miami, like the city, like the wind, like I wanted to see the waterfalls and this jungle. Like we drove 10 hours through the rainforest in an non-air conditioned Volkswagen van. Like we got there, like dust was on our face, like we were stopping to pee on the side of the road, like looking out for like lions and whatever's there, and but that's what I was there for, man. And like you couldn't pay money to have that experience, and
that's the beauty of this earth. That most of the folks that I grew up with, anyway, they stay in the same area, same time zone. They punch the clock. They go sit on a bar stool, or they go to the same social nightlife places week in and week out, same restaurant, and they talk about the same stuff. And I just don't fit in with that, man. Every opportunity I get to explore, I'm out, bro. Like you ain't gonna ask me twice. Just last week, man, this past weekend, I got invited to Sacramento, Northern California.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've been to LA a bunch of times. I was actually born in Southern California. I was only there for a couple of years. My dad was in the Marines. But I got invited to be basically to be the lead role in a psychological thriller feature film that's going to be filmed at this new movie studio in Sacramento. And it was a really cool story. This 90-year-old Chinese billionaire who came to this country with a few bucks in his pocket, orphan, no family, somehow at some point in his young adult life managed to finesse McDonald's to let him buy a franchise. This guy took that one franchise and ultimately ended up having like 36 McDonald's in California. And when I say, his generations are set for life, like he did it right, bro. This guy, talk about a rags to riches story. So I got to meet him, spend time with him and his family, because him and his wife are going to segue to like a luxury retirement facility. But They have this sprawling compound with all these acres and literally over 60 guest rooms and outside of the mansion that they live in on the property. And it's like everything you can imagine, pickleball courts, basketball, like everything is on their facility, and it's all, lock and keys, security to the nines. But they basically flew me out to have like, a weekend event. They flew in a bunch of filmmakers and investors and, movie types, Hollywood people, to explore their place, because they're at a point where they say, you know what, we're going to allow you to turn this into a movie studio and film movies on our ranch, essentially. So I am the lead role in the first feature film that they're going to film on that facility. So it's super exciting for me. I've had a lot of really cool co-leads and supporting roles, but this will be my first lead. So it's something that, every actor's dream, to be a leading man, or be able to, for somebody to believe in you and know that you can carry that weight of leading a movie. And I know I'm ready. I've been more than ready for a while. So, I've been on hundreds of movie sets at this point. I've probably got 50 or more movie and TV credits at this point, all different levels of studio and independent productions. But
How long have you been doing it?
10 years, man.
10
I
years.
started at 40. I just turned 50. We had COVID in the middle, and me, because I'm an extremist, towards the end of COVID, I ended up producing a movie. I only had a few years as an actor, and I just like to learn, and I absorbed not only everything in acting school to be a better actor, but also on the business side, I learned about production and cameras, and I tried to understand everyone's job and position on the crew, not just the cast. Which led to me, having some acumen as an executive producer or a producer. So I try not to advertise that because everybody's making a movie and they all want my help. And selfishly, I really enjoy the therapeutic
Right.
aspect of being just the actor. But I love to help and add value. So a lot of times, movies that I'm involved in, I'll bring additional resources, whether it's helping source some funding. Helping connect other crew, camera guys, lighting guys. There's so many parts and pieces to a successful production. So, just being that connector and trying to put good people together in the same room to make great things happen. That's my tagline.
What is your thoughts on, because for me myself, haven't been too much into obviously like new movies that are coming out, and for whatever reason, I don't know. I just lately, like me and my wife were like, we don't even watch TV anymore.
Right.
But on obviously the shift into reality, right? Reality TV, live. I mean, with that, like the creativeness is there in a way because how people are creating stuff. But I mean, what are your thoughts on that kind of?
It's actually a good question. I actually, last night, before I went to bed, they aired on Bravo The Real Housewives of Rhode Island. And that's where I'm
Really?
from. So, of course, I had to tune in. And some of the cast, I knew them
Right.
loosely. Nobody that I'm super close with, but I know of them or we know each other. So, to be supportive, I tuned in and, my wife and I watched it. And I got a kick out of it. I think it's, I'm more of a feature film movie guy, like not only what I do, but what I enjoy. Even TV, like there are some TV shows that I'll, kind of binge like anybody else. We kind of get into it as a couple, like, oh, let's watch this.
Right.
And I'll try to drag her into my like action flicks, and she's trying to drag me into these chick flicks. Somehow we find these like, TV shows that are somewhere in the middle, usually more towards her side.
Yeah.
And I always tell her, you're taking my masculinity away, making me watch this, But that's
I don't care, man. I watch whatever. Just that time with her is precious. So
yeah, it's true, and I can agree with that.
we got into Naked and Afraid for a while, so that was like our thing. But no, I say that to say that because you said production, you said producing, and for whatever reason, my mind went to like just creativity nowadays because production is that. It's like, hey, stand here, do this. I want this to look like this, and I've never even thought about it before. But now that I'm in the realm that I'm in, it's like you realize that you have that creative sense about you that like
same thing happened to me. I didn't know. I didn't know that I was so artistic and creative until somehow, some way, I ended up in an acting class. And the first 3-4 classes, I'm in the back of the room like this, and everybody's doing these relaxation techniques and all this stuff, and I'm like, ew, like that is awkward. It's uncomfortable.
same thing like The Rock, like the guy from WWE that has become what he's become. And
Iconic, yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I realized along the way, I had to become vulnerable. My acting teacher said it to me one day. She was very sweet, even though she saw me so standoffish. I just happened to get the right person that understood me. Like, all right, this guy looks big and scary, and everyone else in here is like kind of small and petite and theater-esque.
Right.
And we're not from the same world, right? And I'm like this guy that looks like I should be on a construction site or a street corner, and I'm in an acting class, right? So think about the irony of that. Think about that room. It did not look like you and I.
I know that feeling.
So one day the teacher, Rachel Baylett, shout out Rachel Baylett, Lee Strasberg Film Institute, she says to me, she goes, why don't you just try being vulnerable? And to me, that was like a swear. I spent all my life building these layers of tough and you can't pierce this, this shell. And I went home with that lingering thought, vulnerable. I'm looking it up, and I knew what the word meant, but do I really know what it means? What is she saying to me? And I kind of came back to the next class, and I said, you know what? I'm going to give it a chance. I'm going to try to like go with the flow, do the things, because in method acting, which is what I study, you have to become very uncomfortable to get comfortable to perform.
Yeah.
So they kind of stretch you, like literally and figuratively. Like you go in a chair and you kind of lay across this chair and you do all these breathing techniques and you're like, and you like really release all the stuff from your body to kind of get all the stress and tension and all that stuff out of you so that you can perform. And it's a very rare study, and
Wow.
it's a competitive advantage, I believe, for me, like going into something late in the game, late in my life. But it really kind of gave me a crash course in vulnerability, right? First of all, I had to be in a room full of 20, 30 people and make weird noises and lay all around. And I'm like this cool guy that's, my clothes are perfect. And once I did it, man, it was so freeing. And I think that sentiment echoes in my life, like being a little more vulnerable. I would never do a podcast. I wouldn't even take photos when I was younger. Oh, no pictures. You know what I mean? I grew up nah, like we are like this and you guys are like that. And now I found myself to realize, it's more relatable. It's more authentic. It's more organic when you just cut those layers off, man. And like me as an actor, I found it a beauty in the therapeutic aspect of performance. So performance art, like being in a film and a movie, it's not what you think. Like this camera's right here, and there's 30 people in the room, and you're having this intimate conversation with somebody, and your eye line is everything and all that. And I think when I was younger, I would kind of be one of those like look at the floor, not because I was lying. It was because I kind of came from that like PTSD of like the world is out to get me. And but all the experiences that I've had that led me to where I am right now, I'm actually grateful for. I kind of used to walk around and feel a little sad for myself sometimes, but I would also look at other people that curled up in the fetal position and their whole life is rotting away and they're still talking about the trauma they experienced in their childhood and they're not living their life. And I was always repelled by that. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be around that. I realized, for me anyway, I had to find strength somehow. And when I was younger, when I didn't have a walk with God and have faith, it was, me, my whole body's covered in tattoos. I have a big one right here. It says self-made. And that was like my calling card. Like, I did this. I accomplished all this. I got this house, these cars, all these things. And I walked around like Billy Badass and, with my gold chains and all my things and all my stuff. And I was tough and I got in fights and I knocked people out and I was proud of who I was. And, I didn't take any junk from nobody, man. I would give it to them.
What would you say was the event or time frame, like whenever you realized that the ego had to take a back seat?
I think it's been like a journey of that, right? Of going from being meek and humble and abused and, being a young kid that I'm the oldest of 5. Dad died when I was a kid. Didn't have any like protector, right? I had to kind of go from being a kid that got picked on to go into a kid that wasn't afraid to throw the first punch. And that transition empowered me to go out and be like, you know what? I can't wait for somebody to challenge me. I became more empowered by conjuring up this anger or this strength that really wasn't normal for me because I really am a teddy bear to your point. I am a sweetheart. I'm a good person with a good heart, but I became something that I wasn't to survive, to stay alive. And then I started to thrive in that fact that if we were out a group of friends and I wouldn't start fights, but if somebody came over and was messing with you, you wouldn't even have a chance to react because I knocked that guy's teeth out before anybody even blinked. I became that aggressive that I went from being this kid that would take a sucker shot and get bullied and all that to being the one that would welcome any challenge. And I, through my 20s and even my young 30s, I got in a lot of fights. I got in a lot of fights, a lot of street fights. And again, I always would say, I don't understand. It's like I'm a mag. Then I go outside and people want to challenge me. I don't know why. In hindsight, I look back and like, I know why. Because that might have been what I said, but my demeanor was like, yeah,
your
I'm
energy.
ready. Yeah. I was giving off that, if you want it, you can find it right here.
Isn't it amazing too, like with the positive, like just like godly light that you emit? It's the same exact thing, right? Because it's what your product, your environment, your product of whatever it is that you put into your body. So
it's where you water the grass, right? It's all those analogies.
You see some guys, man, you walk in the room and it's like, man, he's a good dude. And you don't even have to say a word. Like you gotta,
and that's a much more fulfilling feeling than, that older me, the version of me that I justified in my existence. Like, I don't take nothing from people would say, well, he don't take no shit. Like, oh, watch out for him. But, and I was proud that I don't start fights, but I was also proud that if you
finished him,
if you got in a physical altercation with me, you weren't going to have the upside most of the time. The best stories are the ones where I didn't win. For some reason, I've always thought those were, because I think I'm a funny guy and I like funny stories. So for me, sometimes the funny stories for me were the ones where I actually didn't win. And,
it's true.
And I get to like make fun of myself for what I thought I was so great, and then I got humbled, But to your point, along the way, like to where I am now, it's like I am proud that when I walk in the room, people see and feel a different version of me. They're like, wow, he's charismatic, he's energetic, he's positive, he's talking about his faith. Like, and when I go on podcasts and when I go on interviews on the news and things like that, they don't expect that from me, because the perception is the persona, like this big guy, tattoos, muscles, scary face, like, man, he's been through some stuff, don't mess with him. And then when I open up, they get in this newer version, this more evolved, more mature, more spiritually fed version of me. So when I speak, again, I realize I have to boldly declare
the real you.
Yeah.
And for all those years, like, I can identify because, like, I wore that mask too, to where, like, easing got out. Edging got out. Like, I always had,
I got this.
I did this. Not you, not me, anybody else. But that was always my downfall. And but that character, I think, made it easier for me to be my true self, because I was able to, that's the same character that we developed from living on the streets and having the mentality of having discernment, I guess is what it would be saying.
Sure.
You're saying is like, you're discerning. I don't even have to know. I'm like, this guy's getting ready to rob me.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I don't.
Exactly.
So that you have that same feeling with
it's like a
this guy's
sense.
a good guy. So it was almost like that walk created the best Christian version or man that I could possibly be.
It's like there's a hypervigilance that comes with certain journeys, right? And I think we've experienced that type of lifestyle where you have this, you call it discernment, this ability to kind of read the room.
Yeah.
And I remember, going way back, I'd be in, a lounge, a nightclub somewhere, and I already knew early on, like, that guy's going to be a problem. Like, at some point, and I'd already have a plan in my head. Like, I would walk into a room and I'd know who the problem is and how I was going to handle it.
Yep.
And it was, I mean, you could call that premeditated.
There's the chair over there on the left.
Yeah.
Like,
but I think that awareness, that skill set where everybody else is drinking and not paying attention. I think
it's a gift.
I always saw everything coming, and it gave me a little competitive advantage. But now to your point, I think we're saying the same thing. In my walk now, I have that same feeling, that same discernment, where I have a lot of empathy as well.
Mm-hmm.
So when I see or feel someone's energy, that maybe they need a hug, or maybe they need some kind words or uplifting, like, compliments.
Just to talk to them, yeah.
And instead of just closing that off and being like, I'm so big and tough, I feel like the best version or the better version of me that's coming out now is the one who isn't afraid to hug that homeless person, or isn't afraid to, really just lead with love and lead conversations with, how can I help? How can I serve? How can I add value? And it's a different conversation, bro. It really attracts a whole different dynamic to, whatever you're going to set out to do with that person that you're sitting with.
You're walking, to be a Christian is to be a Christ-like, right? So and I've heard folks say that, you're not supposed to act out of emotion or act, the Bible doesn't say anything about emotion. But what is the number one goal of the Bible or Jesus's walk? Is love. What is love? It's an emotion. Whether you're talking about one of the 4 different types of it or not, like that, to walk through life and just love everybody forever. I said that before, like, even with this podcast, like, I don't care if you're a Democrat, Republican,
Sure.
Black, white, doesn't matter. Like, I can get along with anybody.
Sure.
Like, this isn't about, like, it's only a certain type of people that are supposed to be on here.
Right.
It's the human aspect. And so, like, to walk through life and I've developed it now to where it's like it's muscle memory for me to just be as the best person I could be. Like open the door
Love
for
that.
somebody. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. You don't even realize that they said there's, you preach the gospel, and if you need to, use words.
Right.
It's how you carry yourself.
Right. I love that. Wow. That's a great takeaway.
Little stuff, man, that you realize that just changes things. And
It's so true.
And now you talked about like saying like, oh, well, I don't know if that person needs a hug, or I don't know if that person needs that. You already know that's what you're supposed to do, but there's a fear inside of us, right? That, and I'm getting better at it too. I was at a stoplight in Fort Pierce. There's a young lady, I've got tinted windows in the truck. She's probably from here to the camera. And in my mind, I'm saying, get out of the truck and pray for her. Like, God, let's just had this compelling thing come over me to just pray for this girl. Her sign said it's summer and it's hot. Like, it didn't say give me money or anything,
Right.
but that's what the sign said. But, I can still remember just seeing that look in her face because I've been in the same situation. I knew exactly what she was going through, the empathy of having that. And I didn't do it. I didn't get out and pray. I was worried about like, oh, are the people behind me to think the light's going to turn red?
Yeah. All the things.
And as I turned the corner, you know what? I didn't close my eyes while I was driving, but I prayed for the young lady. And even though I wasn't there with my hands on her, like I, was compelled to do, but that opened up my eyes to like standing in a 7-Eleven, like looking across the room over there while I'm standing in line, like I need to go pray for this person. And I walk over, hey, can I pray for you? And created that faith.
It's beautiful.
Right?
It's absolutely beautiful.
It's we get scared of what people are going to think. We get scared of it's fear. Fear is a lack of faith. But if I can go, be an actor in a movie, if I can go stand in front of a stage and speak to somebody, why can't I pray for somebody?
That's right.
So that's why I think that like that character that we've had, in our past that was, when you take the you aspect out of it or the me aspect out of it, I take the less of me and more about him.
Right.
Why can't I do that?
That's right.
I've done it for myself for personal gain.
And tell me you haven't seen others like maybe pastors or different people that we kind of perceivedly think like they're way ahead of us in the game, right? And they just exude this loving energy, and they're not afraid, and they don't have those barriers. I admire them. And I think
they just had more practice.
Yeah, and to your point earlier about like the people that say that we're supposed to be like this or that, people are always going to say what they feel because they feel insecure about, their life. And it's just like anything else, man. We have a choice to make. Every day we have a choice to make. And, when it comes to setting our own expectations for ourselves, you got to be kinder. Be kind to yourself, love yourself, and know that it's okay. We're all human. Even going back all the way to biblical times and parables and disciples, like that Bible is full of stories of guys that did things wrong, but ultimately they were the ones that were used to gather an army and to build the foundation of Christianity. So if you call yourself a Christian, you have to realize like being like critical is not, it's just not it. That's not coming from love. Criticizing others for their reactions, or even me, like, man, I swear worse than anybody. But I've consciously been saying, God, please help me to be better. Like, I can't do it on my own. It's in me. I come from a culture and a place where it's like everything is 100 swear words, with 101 words.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be like that. I want to be better. So instead of beating myself up, I realize it's human nature. It's normal, just like 80 other things I probably did wrong today, but my intentions are better.
Right.
And I'm leading with love. And to the point that we've both made, I think even with me, like I went to church when I was a kid with my mom and with my family. Then when I was an adult, I never went to church. My whole 20s, 30s, 40s, I didn't go to church. I felt like I went when I was a kid. I know enough about God and stuff. I'm good. It wasn't like I didn't believe in God, none of that. I wasn't plugged in. And in the last couple of years, moving down here, making some life changes, my beautiful fiance, she dragged me and was like, you got to come to this church. And she didn't grow up like always in church either. Just she felt, and I'm very blessed to have her in my life, she felt like, hey,
I on her own, I need to do this. And so she went without me. And then she came back like and was like, you gotta come with me. You gotta see what I just experienced. And to make her happy, I was, oh man, okay, let's go. And I went, and it was the best thing I ever did, bro.
Yes.
So being plugged in for me in the last couple of years, going to a church where I'm constantly hearing the messages that are it's like I'm tuned in now, and the message is so impactful to me, and I'm hungry for more. And the point is why I'm sharing that is a lot of people say, you can have God, you don't need church. Those are all excuses. I did it for years. I feel compelled to the realization to share this because there's a lot of folks that I've come across in my journey in the last few years. I'm like, hey, I heard you on a podcast talking about you're a Christian and you're boldly declaring your faith, and I'm a Christian too, but like I never say anything about it. And they're like, and they kind of give me the indication that like they're inspired by my ability to boldly share my faith. So now I think yet another reason for us to not hold back, and yet another reason to stay plugged in to a local church where you are getting fed the word and the messages, so that you're constantly not just relying on some old information that you've heard a few times, or now and then listening to somebody speak online.
Feeding your spirit.
You have to, man. And I trust me, man, I'm not perfect. I don't know the Bible inside and out. I don't know the traditions and all the things that I could do to participate. I do know that when Jesus died on the cross and there was two criminals hanging next to him, one of them didn't go to church. Both of them didn't go to church. But the one guy that was like, you are the Son of God. And, he acknowledged God. And Jesus said to him, you, on this day, you will be with me in heaven. And I feel like we have to remember that. It's not about good works and all that. That stuff's very important. It's inspirational. It's empathy. It's Christ-like. It's love. But at the end of the day, when you're beating yourself up because of some of the mistakes you've made in your past or even currently, you have to remember that it's all about intentions, right? And I feel like when you put yourself in a position to be vulnerable, be authentic, and admit to yourself, and also have that relationship with God. For me, for a long time, I didn't pray. I would even say to people, "Oh, you should pray about that." I'd give that advice, but I didn't really pray. And I finally connected it, and I realized when I was a kid, when scary, sad, traumatic things were happening, I went to church all the time, so I knew prayer was the answer. So I remember, praying feverishly, God, please help, like save us or make this thing stop, or, pleading with God. And through my childhood, I felt like God never heard my prayers. I felt like in those moments when I was at these bleak, scary, horrible moments in time that God didn't hear me. I wasn't important enough, or he didn't exist. I didn't know. And I was afraid to say he didn't exist. So I would just say to myself, like, you can't hear me, So when I became of age and I went through my whole adult life leaning on my own understanding and not acknowledging God in any of my successes or wins, it was all me, self-made. I did it. I don't need anybody. I started saying the whole manifesting and the universe hears me and all that. And I felt like I was saying and doing the right thing. It was still positive, right? My kid brother a couple of years ago told me, he heard me, and he's 20 years Marine Corps, just retired, clean and sober, cleaned up his life. He's on stage preaching now in North Carolina.
Nice.
Changed his whole life. And he's like really, really studious and a student of the Bible. And he said to me one day, he heard me talking about like, I manifested this or that. And he said, brother, let me share something with you. And he basically told me, when the world nowadays encourages you to say things like manifest and call upon the universe, think about that for 1 second. It's manifest. You're a man, and it's empowering you to be like God. And basically saying, I don't need God, I don't need anybody else. I can do this on my own. And when you call upon the universe, you're not calling upon God. You're calling upon nature or the universe, essentially, to acquire the things or to manifest the things that you're trying to accomplish. Sounds like a sweet sentiment, but really think about that. Do you think you've come out of a life of sin and violence and addiction and all those things because you did it on your own? And I was like, oh man, you got me. You're right. And right then, all these years leading up to now, I was saying, oh, manifest and universe, and I was saying all that stuff. So I'm not against people that say it, but I'm enlightened, I guess. It's conceptually, but the beauty of my individual walk is that I realize, again, my job on this earth and my purpose is to gather an army for the Lord and to save souls and to impact eternity. And the only way I can do that is by giving God the glory for my successes.
Amen.
And if I don't do that, and if I give it to the universe or to manifesting, I'm giving myself the power. And I've had moments in my life where I couldn't have made it through unless God was there to help me. And that realization is what made me boldly declare my faith and made me say, you know what, I am a believer, I am a Christian. And so I have to double down on the sentiment that I'm not manifesting. I'm not calling upon the universe. I'm calling upon the name of Jesus.
Amen.
And I'm calling upon him. And I'm also giving him the credit. And by his grace and mercy, I'm even here breathing, bro, because I don't deserve it. I'm a nasty sinner. I'm a violent, addicted mess, full of PTSD and full of trauma and stress and anxiety and all those things. I've had cancer scares. I'm dealing with cardiac issues. Cardiologist told me 2 weeks ago when he looked at my CTA scans, you should be dead already.
Wow.
That's not the nicest thing to hear, but I also know it's true because my dad died at 32 of a massive heart attack. I was 14. I grew up with a black cloud over my head that what does it all matter? I'm going to be dead or in jail anyway. That's the voice that was in my head. And I finally got to the point where I realized God has a plan and a purpose for all of us, and it's just about us tapping into that. It's all it is, man. Surrender. My 2025 for me was forgive. I had to forgive myself. I had to go back and forgive all the people that ever did me wrong, currently, recently, and also a long time ago. And it was a challenge, but once I had the realization of the freedom that comes with forgiveness, I was able to go into the next phase. 2026 is about surrender. So for me, just sharing my story, I'm surrendering to the call and the purpose on my life. I'm surrendering to the fact that it's not me. I'm not a manifester. I am only here by God's grace and mercy.
Amen.
And that's my story, man.
That's awesome, man. This is a powerful conversation, man. Everything about it, man. And once again, I mean, there's no coincidences on everything. And I'll say the same thing is that, you know, I'll give God the glory for us meeting this opportunity for us to utilize this platform. And, you know, I think you definitely spoke on everything that, you know, I was going to ask as far as your foundation. And obviously we definitely are going to go ahead and get him his links in the bio to be able to connect with him and connect with what he has going on. And I really, really appreciate, you know, you coming in.
Pleasure's mine, man. I appreciate you reaching out and inviting me here. Beautiful studio, and what an amazing platform. You have a great team around you and support system, and keep doing what you're doing, man.
Thank you, man.
There's no way this isn't impactful. And if we can change one person's mind out there, one person that's struggling, that's on the fence, that's on the edge of making a good decision or a bad decision, we all have choices. And today, I'm challenging you, make a good choice. Make a good choice. Reach out to John on Instagram and tell him what this interview made you feel and the good choice that you made because of it.
Appreciate it. We'll put everything in there. Guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on the next episode of Discipline Legacy Podcast.